Assalamualaikum class. So today we're studying about the cells, tissues, and organs. I want you guys to make a title page with this title and maybe a drawing if you can. And then I want you guys to write the date and the day when we started this lesson. I'll try to explain this in English and in Urdu as best as I can so you guys don't have any doubts. And first we're going to read this paragraph and then I'll explain it. So, cells. All organisms, plant and animals, are made up of tiny units called cells. Although there are many different types of cells, all of which have different jobs, most cells have certain features in common. The cell membrane controls what goes into and out of the cell. Cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance which makes up most of the cell in both plant and animals. The cytoplasm contains a number of small structures called organelles. These do several things. The mitochondria produces energy for the cell. Others, called ribosomes, make proteins. They receive chemical messages from the nucleus, which then tells them exactly which proteins to make. The nucleus contains a substance called DNA. The nucleus carries the plans for the plant or animal the cell will grow into or be part of. It controls the kinds of chemicals the cell will make and how much of each of them is produced. It also controls how and when the cell divides. A plant or animal cell without a nucleus cannot reproduce. So now that we're done reading, I'm going to explain to you. So first of all, what is a cell, right? That might be your main question, and you need to know this really well. In our body, we have 1 trillion cells. We have more than 1 million cells in our body, and a cell is a single unit or block that makes up an organism, right? आपकी body में सिर्फ एक cell नहीं, but million से भी ज़्यादा cells हैं, and some cells come together and they form a tissue. And tissue has a lot of functions, right? There are different kind of tissues. There's nervous tissue, muscular tissue, and tissues उनका function, they protect your skin, they cover your muscle. ये सब extra information है, but it's just for your understanding, right? जैसे you understand, and that's how you will remember it better. So you need to know the difference between a tissue and an organ. An organ has a specific function and a tissue does not, right? जैसे a number of tissues come together and they form an organ like your heart, right? So a heart is made up of cardiac tissue and all of those came together so your heart could pump blood. So heart, an organ, is having a specific function like pumping blood, right? Now we'll discuss एक cell के अंदर क्या नजर आएगा आपको, like what are its features, what are the characteristics, how can you identify कि ये एक cell है, right? So first, I think you should know that there are two types of cells. There's a plant cell and there's an animal cell. And obviously humans की body में there's animal cell and plants में आपको plant cell मिलेगा. So एक typical cell में आपको, I'm going to show you a diagram that I got from Google. And I'm going to show you कि आपको एक typical cell में क्या मिलेगा. इसमें this cell has the same features जो आपको एक plant cell में मिलेंगे और animal cell में मिलेंगे, right? So you will find cytoplasm, you will find nucleus, cell membrane, and mitochondria, right? So now you might have questions. You're like, what is cytoplasm? What is nucleus? What is cell membrane? What is mitochondria? So cytoplasm is this jelly-like substance that is inside the cell, right? And cytoplasm is the one that contains all the organelles. So it contains mitochondria, it contains ribosomes, and there are more organelles like other than these two. But that's all you need to know right now, right? And so mitochondria's main function is to produce energy. तो आप जो भी काम करते हैं, like हाथ हिलाना, उसके लिए आपको energy चाहिए, and ये सब कहाँ से शुरू होता है? It starts from the mitochondria. वो energy release करता है और उसके बाद काफी लंबे process के बाद आपका हाथ हिलता है. Like I know जब आप हाथ हिलाते हैं, so it's pretty fast, but like the process is going pretty fast as well, right? और इसके बाद जैसे ribosomes का example है, so they make proteins and ribosomes को signals मिलते हैं from the nucleus. तो वो तरह तरह के फिर proteins बना सकते हैं. Now you might have another question. You're like, what are proteins? So proteins are tiny nutrient molecules जो आपकी body में structures बनाते हैं, जैसे your bones have proteins in them, right? Here we have nucleus. So this is the nucleus, right? And nucleus is really really important. उसमें आपको DNA मिलता है which decides कि आपकी cell कौन सी type of cell होगी, उसके क्या functions होंगे, right? Um, and now we're going to go back and we're going to study plant and animal cell individually and see their functions and differences, right? So, structure of plant cells. Although both plant and animal cells normally have cell membrane, guys, pay attention. Plant cells and animal cells usually normally have. These are the similarities, right? They have a cell membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. There are some features found in plant cells that are not present in animal cells. These are, so plant cells have a cell wall as well as cell membrane. The cell wall is made up of material called cellulose and it helps to keep the plant rigid. The vacuole is a bag-like structure in the center of the cytoplasm. It takes up most of the space inside the cell and contains a solution of sugars and salts. The solution is called cell sap. The cell sap pushes the cytoplasm up against the wall to keep the cell rigid. Chloroplast contains green pigment chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is used by plants in photosynthesis, the process by which plants make their own food. It is important to remember that unlike animals, plants do not have a skeleton. They keep their shape because the cell wall and the cell sap in the nucleus keep the cells rigid, right? So now we're going to zoom on this diagram over here and I'll explain what we just read. And I want you guys to know that all these features that we're talking about right now, that will help you distinguish between a plant cell and an animal cell, right? So when you see these cells, you need to identify these features and you will know कि ये plant cell है और ये animal cell है, right? So the first thing we have a cellulose cell wall, and this makes sure that the plant cell has its shape, right? Like वो shape खराब ना हो जाए. Like अगर आप animal cell देखोगे और plant cell देखोगे, so plant cell is going to be rigid and straight, and it will have like a specific shape, right? पर जो animal cell होगी, it won't have a shape. It will be like irregular in a way, right? So plant cells have a cell wall or cell membrane के पहले you will have this strong rigid cell wall. It's made up of cellulose and cell wall basically helps the plant cell keep its real shape, and you will notice how plant cells don't have a definite shape, right? But plant cells have vacuoles and this is the vacuole, the white color, right, is the big space in the cytoplasm, right? So like the vacuole itself occupies a lot of space in the cytoplasm, right? So there's nothing else that's going to occupy that much space. And vacuole के अंदर जो solution है, we call it cell sap. And this one is a very important feature. Plant cells contain chloroplast, right? And you won't find this chloroplast in anything else. Like आपको animal cell में भी नहीं मिलेगा, and you will only find it in plant cells. So chloroplast is basically this green pigment. उसके अंदर chlorophyll है, right? और ये chlorophyll जो है उसके through plants make their own food, and this process of making their own food जो plants करते हैं, it's called photosynthesis. And now we're going to look into the features of animal cells, but first I'll read to you what this paragraph says, right? So simple animal cells have the basic structure shown in the diagram above. Animal cells differ from plant cells because they have only a thin cell membrane, they do not have a cell wall, they do not have chloroplast or a large and permanent vacuole. However, they may have small vacuoles which only last for a short time, right? So now we're going to zoom in on the diagram and I'll explain to you what we just read. It's really short explanation, it's nothing hard. So this is how you know that animal cell is different from a plant cell, right? Animal cell only has a cell membrane, and as you can see, the shape is pretty irregular. You can't say the shape is a circle or a triangle or a square, like how a plant cell is in a way a rounded shape, right? Animal cell is pretty irregular and it doesn't have a definite shape. So that's because it only has a cell membrane surrounding it, and an animal cell can have small vacuoles, but they're not really permanent. They're temporary. They only last for a small time. And animal cell doesn't have a chloroplast, and so since it doesn't have a chloroplast, it obviously doesn't have chlorophyll either, because chloroplast is what contains chlorophyll, right? And an animal cell will have small vacuoles, cytoplasm, the jelly-like substance, It will have a cell membrane. It has nucleus, just like a plant cell. It has mitochondria. And those are the features, right? Homework is underlining hard words and writing them 3 times, right? So here are the words that I've identified that are hard. And if you guys find any words that are harder that you think you need to know, please underline them and do write them for 3 times. That's it. It's not more. Identified is organism. And I think you guys need to know the definition and the spelling of this word. And then the other word I have identified is substance, structures, ribosomes. You can also underline other words like organelles. And then I've identified reproduce. Next page, I've identified words like vacuole. That's the permanent bag that's in the cytoplasm of plant cells. It contains salts and sugars. It's called cell sap. The other word is cell sap as well. And then it's rigid, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food. Skeleton. And that's the words that I've identified. And if you guys, please do write them 3 times. And if there are any other words that you think are hard, do write them 3 more times and underline them. And your next homework is going to be writing definitions. So for definitions, I've chosen words, the definitions of